Her struggle began a little over a year ago. She was fed up. Her parents had virtually left them at Nyaniba in the central region along with her 4 siblings to their fate. And in line with a common practice in her village, she was put in the care of her granny, already sick, weak, and hardly does anything to give them the comfort and direction in life. Amma was traumatized and could hardly sleep until she mustered courage one day to take responsibility for her own life, maybe to end the cycle of poverty in her family. She set off to Accra, uncertain about the terrain and the sharp difference compared to the poor village where you don't pay for access to unit, for example. She arrived at one of the busiest terminals, Kanishi, one hot afternoon and observed patiently. And her first ordeal began after meeting the supposed savior, a man.
Midu Akrano, bribe no from, say, Yamla Kanishi, or you walk out to him, baby meat pie for Accra meat pie. Dear Ben, no, you banyami no guani jam, no come on qua. So come on one Muko Nyaniba, Namco Cowen, and Masame Chimbai.
The yogurt and donut seller had noticed she was upper fresh, literally meaning someone who had just arrived, had no clue about city life and very vulnerable. Her supposed helper wanted to help her settle down, but little did she know she was a prey, someone cheap enough to satisfy his sexual desire. For months, Nyaniba lived with this man in one of the small huts at Kanishi. Days, weeks and months passed, no money to live on her own. She was subjected to abuse in the name of genuine affection, and soon she became pregnant. How was she going to tell her story? She never knew the background of this man, and bitter as it was, staying under his roof was still a painful option.
Say, Menana so, say, number bregunoso. Into on to me shame Nyaniba and count. Until Mrs. Adam Bankan, my boy shade me be near my and can't come some lash.
As if she was destined to suffer, Amma soon realized things were not going to improve. This was after her pregnancy began to pop out. Her man abandoned her.
Or do Kofoka, or do you got to Skakan or meet by Skakan or this can ya quite. The police for by so my bache, me, what am I just say? Me, Scanning my common can or walk a discan. No part of walking in same person to meet him. Namadam Luko Nyaniba.
She had no place to lay her head, and eventually returned home full of disgrace, regret, and pain. But has she learnt lessons? Amma made a second attempt. 18 then, she began by selling toffees and other consumables with a startup capital of 50 cedis. And yet another trouble. Her 11-month-old daughter fell very ill. Death was staring at her, and there was no option. Medical bills drained all her capital. But Amma had learnt a bitter lesson and was poised to move on. She joined young girls her age selling cold sachet water on the streets. The commission was enough to keep her going, but this did not go with surprises.
Let me give you just 50 cedis so I can have sex with you.
No, I will not agree.
It was a bright Saturday morning, September 27, 2014. My car had developed a fault. For the first time, I decided to accompany my mechanic to Abosokai, home of vehicle spare parts in Accra. This was where I met Amma. She was sweating, tired from the heavy load on her head and the baby at her back. She had not made sales since morning. Surprisingly, as I got to know later, traders along the lane had vowed not to buy from teenage mothers. Why? The response was very intriguing as I eavesdropped. This prompted me to film with my smartphone and share Amma's ordeal with you. Hear this.
Amma, if you want to make sales, then you have to leave your baby before hawking. Here we only buy from single girls. That's true, Ama. Just do it.
Ama can only make good sales if she leaves her baby behind. I could feel the disappointment through her eyes. She was buried in her thoughts as I trailed her to show me where she passes the night after the day's toil. I followed up 2 days later, September 29. It was 10 p.m. I was struck by the spectacle. Poor mother, sexually abused and abandoned, now left to survive under such harsh conditions. 5 minutes past 10 o'clock in the evening, and this is Kanishi. It's one of the stations at Kanishi, but for Ama and her 11-month-old daughter, is their home after these stores have closed for the day. As I take you to where Ama and her daughter sleeps every day when she comes back from work after her hectic job, and that's her daughter that you can see, and this is Ama. It's saying
I tell you, pure man to my blow because it's true baby issue Bianca sound Baboton sa betting sa Bianca sound Bianca sanaton.
her nightmares are when the weather changes, forced to sleep with her baby clucked to her chest while standing upright during downpours. I was devastated as I listened to her.
Oh, I am, madam.
Oh, how?
I am Mr. I'm Mr. Young I'm born, I'm Mr. Muslim.
How do you mean? What you're saying?
Sir, Muslim, baby pa, Muslim, Neduma marking, emblem.
Ama is not asking for much. She wants to be empowered. A vocational training and a better place to lay her head is all she's asking for.
Me come say come pace company my shade tailor. Necessary come me ben so yin ti na come yes kepo sak ton nyama na ada. Come e bim dey see dey bia ma bo susuna da ma afro ben yin promote me di bia hwe na akoso. Na musu me ebinam dey hwe me adwuma.
But Ama gave me another perspective to life. She was unfazed by the storms in her own world. Perhaps too much for a single lady. She was determined, a never-say-die spirit. As I left Ama, I felt humbled and grateful for his blessings. But I kept wondering, if only we could all be each other's keeper, this world, as the late Michael Jackson rightly put it, would be a better place to live. Ama's story reminds me of some of the most powerful quotes I have come to cherish. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. Martin Luther King Jr. And like John F. Kennedy, the 35th US president once said, if the free society cannot help the many who are poor, they cannot help the few who are rich. Another powerful statement, right? Think about it deeply, and perhaps let all play a role, no matter how small, to rid our mother Ghana of vulnerable people like 19-year-old Ama Nyaniba. Reporting for Metro News, Ignatius Ano, Kanishi, Accra.